foot injury. What is going on? Why can't he play? And what happens next? Stay tuned to find out. Hey everybody, Dr. Chris, orthopedic surgeon and sports medicine physician. Welcome to my channel, your favorite source for information on broken bones and other injuries. Today we're talking about Cam Newton's foot injury. Question number 1. What the heck is going on? Cam Newton injured his right foot during the third preseason game of the 2019-2020 NFL football season. Although it was difficult to determine exactly at what moment he injured his right foot, it appears that he injured it while scrambling around in the backfield attempting to avoid being sacked. He was diagnosed with a minor foot injury and was allowed to start the regular season as the Carolina Panthers starting QB. Unfortunately, Cam was only able to play the first 2 games of the season where he struggled as a result of pain in his foot. At some point, he was diagnosed with a Lisfranc injury. During this time, his status was questionable, and up until the last week of October, it was expected that he still might be able to return to play in only a few weeks' time. However, when Cam returned to his orthopedic surgeon for further assessment at the end of October, it became apparent that things were not proceeding as favorably as either Cam or his surgeon would have hoped, and Cam was informed that further immobilization for an extended period of time would be required before his Lisfranc injury would heal. Now, following this reassessment by Cam's orthopedic surgeon, he went to receive a second opinion from another orthopedic surgeon to determine whether operative management instead might be indicated rather than the non-operative approach to this Lisfranc injury. And although at the time that I'm filming this video, no decision has been made whether to proceed with surgery or not, it appears as though Cam at this point is now leaning more towards the surgical option than towards continuing with the non-surgical option. So question number 2. What the heck is a Lisfranc injury and why can't Cam play? A Lisfranc injury is a mid-foot injury, or in other words, it's an injury that occurs to the middle part of your foot. The Lisfranc injury can include broken bones, torn ligaments, or a combination of both of the above. Consequently, there is a wide range of severities of this injury as a result of the various bones, joints, or ligaments that are involved. The midfoot has 2 functions. First, it stabilizes the arch of your foot when standing or walking. And second, it transfers force that is generated by your calf to the front of your foot when you are walking or running. Lisfranc injuries include both sprains and fractures. Sprains occur when ligaments around the midfoot are either stretched or torn. Fractures, on the other hand, occur when any of the bones in the midfoot are damaged. Sprains of the midfoot are actually rather uncommon as a result of the stable arrangement of bones, with the second metatarsal being sandwiched between both the medial and the lateral cuneiform in the midfoot. That's a lot of big words. And it just means that the base of the second toe is sandwiched in between 2 other bones, so it doesn't really move very much. This makes sprains in this area unlikely. And typically, sprains of the midfoot are high energy injuries caused by such things as motor vehicle accidents and not usually sports. Fractures of the midfoot, on the other hand, are low energy injuries that occur frequently and are quite common in sports such as football and soccer. Lisfranc fractures typically occur when the person stumbles over a plantar flexed foot, and that just means when your toes are pointed to the ground. So usually this is something that will happen when a person is attempting to change direction, like to avoid being tackled. Lisfranc injuries can be classified on the basis of the displacement of their fragments. These injuries may be either homolateral, isolated, or divergent. Homolateral means that all 5 metatarsals move the same way. Isolated means that 1 or 2 of the metatarsals are displaced away from the others. Divergent, on the other hand, means that the metatarsals are displaced in 2 different planes. So as I said, Cam initially opted for non-operative treatment of his Lisfranc injury. And non-operative treatment is indicated when there are no fractures, no dislocations, and when the ligaments are not completely torn. Non-operative treatment includes strict, non-weight bearing in a cast or boot for 6 to 8 weeks. and I do mean strict. Failure to comply with the strict non-weight bearing restriction will result in prolonged healing times.
Okay.
Once we have confirmed that healing of the injury has occurred, we will allow the patient to begin progressive weight bearing in the boot or with an orthotic at that time. We typically use serial x-rays to monitor healing of the joint. And if at any time movement of the joint is detected, then unfortunately surgical fixation is required. Operative treatment of a Lisfranc injury, on the other hand, is indicated if there are any fractures or dislocations in the bones of the midfoot, or if there is any abnormal positioning of the joints of the midfoot. Our goal with surgical treatment is to realign the joints of the midfoot and to return any fractured fragments to their anatomic or normal position. Now, when we're talking about surgical options, we're basically talking about two different things. Here we are either talking about internal fixation or fusion of the midfoot joint. Internal fixation describes the procedure where the bones are reduced to their anatomic position, or in other words, they're put back where they're supposed to be, and then they are secured with screws, plates, or a combination of both. Fixation typically spans joints that normally move, so removal of hardware is often required after this injury has healed, and this may be after a period of 3 to 5 months. Because implants span joints that normally move, it is not uncommon for implants to actually break prior to removal. This is not unusual, and this is not a problem when it occurs. Fusion, on the other hand, is a bit of a salvage procedure, and it is indicated when the fracture fragments cannot be adequately stabilized or when the ligaments are severely ruptured. Fusion is the option that is utilized when the injury is severe or when the damage cannot be repaired. And fusion basically causes the fractured bones or dislocated bones to fuse and unite into one single piece. Now, normally there is little motion that occurs at the midfoot, so fusion of the bones in this area results in a relatively normal gait pattern and foot function after injury. Regardless of the operative approach utilized, rehabilitation includes 6 to 8 weeks of non-weight bearing and cast immobilization. Once serial x-rays have confirmed adequate healing, then progressive weight bearing can begin. So in Cam Newton's case, I would venture to guess that healing was occurring at a pace that was unusually slow. When he returned to his orthopedic surgeon for reassessment, he was given the unfortunate news that further cast immobilization and time off would be required before he was able to return to play. Cam was then faced with the decision: do I continue with this non-operative approach, or do I now bite the bullet and switch to the operative route? So this leads us to our last question. What happens next? So in Cam's case, we have yet to find out whether he will continue to wait for his injury to heal non-operatively, or whether he will decide to now switch to the operative fixation of his Lisfranc injury. But we can look to the scientific literature to determine what might lie in store for Cam Newton in the future. When we consider athletes in general, studies show that some athletes are never able to return to their pre-injury level of play after having suffered a Lisfranc injury. Arthritis to the midfoot is common after this injury as a result of suffering damage to the cartilage. Chronic pain that requires fusion of the midfoot may occur in some athletes. When we consider NFL athletes in particular, we can look to the results of a 2016 paper by McHale et al. To figure out what might be coming down the pipe. This paper involved a case control study of NFL football players with Lisfranc injuries. They looked at 28 NFL players over a 10-year period of time. Each of these players suffered a Lisfranc injury of variable severity. 2 of the injured players never returned to the NFL. 26 of the players returned to the NFL at a median of 11.1 months after the time of injury, and they missed an average of 8.5 games after the time of diagnosis. Post-injury performance after they returned to play was less than pre-injury performance before they were injured, although this did not approach the level of statistical significance. So basically, they didn't play as well, but it was really hard to show that this actually mattered significantly. And most importantly, overall, the career length of injured players did not differ significantly from the career length of uninjured players after having suffered this injury. So as of November 6th of 2019, Cam Newton has been placed on the injured reserve for the Carolina Panthers. He is now considering surgery after first opting for the non-surgical treatment of his Lisfranc injury. And here I'm guessing that healing was either proceeding too slowly for Cam Newton's liking, or number two, that motion was noted on post-injury x-rays. Only time will tell how Cam Newton will heal and who he will play for in the future. I hope this video has been both entertaining and educating for you. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, that's been a word from Dr. Chris, not your everyday...
Just a flesh wound.